Hey there, welcome back to Cop Noise TV. And after a little mid-season break from the competition, Champions League football, it's back, baby. Oh yes, the big time, it's here. Knockout football has arrived and the margin for error now for Liverpool is at 0. The league phase is done. Literally no excuses now for Liverpool, moving into the last 16 tie between us and Galatasaray. We all know what to expect when we go away to Galatasaray. We've already been there once this season in the league phase, which I'll kind of touch on in a little bit, but the welcome to hell and all that stuff. And I've got to say, looking back through Galatasaray's results in the competition this year, it's a real mixed bag, really strange team in the competition. So from their 8 league games played prior to the knockouts, they lost 4 games, they drew 1 and they won 3, so kind of really all over the place. And obviously one of those 3 that they won was at home to Liverpool, which for me personally, I remember that game quite well because it was an absolute shocker of a football game. It was a real stink fest. Galatasaray won a penalty, I think it was in the first half, midway through the first half. I think Victor Osimhen won it. Dominic Szoboszlai got caught out playing at right back. Osimhen, I think it was Osimhen, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but basically chopped inside. Dominic Szoboszlai stuck out his arm. It wasn't really like a flailing elbow or anything like that. Brushed the Galatasaray player's face. He went down like he'd been shot. Referee gave a penalty because we all know that fucking rules are a little bit different in Europe to what they are in the Premier League. Galatasaray scored from that penalty, and then from that point they were just going on the floor, breaking the play up at every opportunity they could. It was a shocking game of football. But listen, they come away with the 3 points at the end, so who am I to kind of criticise, if you like? But yeah, it was a real stinkfest of a game. But as I say, real mixed bag of results in the league stage, which resulted in them finishing 20th in the league, and they only narrowly got into the playoffs by a point. So they've literally scraped through into the playoffs by the skin of the teeth. And in the playoffs, they drew a tricky tie against Juventus, which in the first leg, they won 5-2, so taking a decent lead to Turin. And in Turin, they ended up losing the second leg 3-2, but obviously went through on goals aggregate. And I remember watching the second leg because I think we knew by that stage that we potentially could play or was playing one of them. So I wanted to watch that game just to see what these guys were like. And I've got to say, the game lacked quality, and this was told by the amount of goals that was scored in this tie on the whole, to be honest, because yeah, a real lack of quality, especially in the defence of both teams. So positives for Liverpool to take into this round. As we move on to look at Liverpool, I want to have a quick look at some of Galatasaray's key players, the threats that potentially Liverpool need to watch out for. So we all know they carry a threat up top with Victor Osimhen. He's a quality finisher. I don't think there's any doubt about that. His finishing ability is up there with some of the best in Europe. But aside from that, I think he's a bit ineffective, if you like. If he's not getting the service, if he's not getting the chances, then he doesn't really affect the game. So if Liverpool can minimise the service up to him, then that nullifies pretty much Galatasaray's main threat. And apart from Osimhen, they've got some familiar faces that we'll recognise from the Premier League days. So obviously Leroy Sané, who for me is past his best, and there's a reason why he's playing in Turkey now and Bayern Munich let him go. I know there was rumours potentially that Liverpool might look for a move for him in the summer, but for me personally, I wouldn't want to see that. I think Leroy Sané is past his best, and I would not want to see him at Liverpool next season. They've also got İlkay Gündoğan in the middle of the park, which we all know technically is a really good player, but listen, he's never really had the legs, to kind of get up and down the field. He's very much a ball to feet player. So again, if Liverpool can potentially nullify that, they take away the threat that Gündoğan has got feeding the likes of Sane and Osimhen in front of him, and then other names you'll probably remember from the Premier League days. Davinson Sanchez is one of them. I think he played for Tottenham. Played for Tottenham at the back, and look how that's turned out for him. And then Mario Lemina, centre midfield, and I think he played for Southampton. But anyway, a couple of familiar faces there. Personally, I don't think Liverpool, if they're on their A game, if they're professional, if they turn up for this one and do the business and put a solid performance in, they shouldn't have anything to worry about. So, with that being said, let's have a look at Liverpool. So looking at Liverpool, if we focus solely on their form in the Champions League, so separate the Premier League from the Champions League form, I've got to say, I think the majority of the fan base should be relatively happy. Look, we ended up finishing third in the league standings behind Bayern Munich and Arsenal, so, nothing to be ashamed of there at all. I think we were 6 points off Arsenal at the top. Obviously, that was the 2 games that we lost. 8 games played in the league phase. We won 6 of those, losing just 2. And as I said earlier, one of those games was against this week's competition, Galatasaray. The other game, which I think was a turning point in the season, was against PSV. So if you remember, I think we lost, was it 4-1 at home to PSV? Liverpool, probably one of Liverpool's worst performances of the season. And as I say, I think that was a real turning point for Liverpool's season, because, jog your memories back now, this was towards the end of November, and prior to that Liverpool were on a horrendous run of results. And after the PSV game, we went on the 12-13 game, whatever it was, unbeaten run. And yes, before everyone kind of jumps at me who's watching this and says, yeah, but the unbeaten run, we drew how many games? Yeah, I totally agree. We drew a load of games in that. It was a very abject, if you like, unbeaten run. But listen, it was an unbeaten run nonetheless. And I think personally, the manager and the team deserve a little bit more credit for what we did in that point in the season, because as I said, we were on a terrible run of results and we needed to do something. We stopped the rot there, and I think that PSV game was a pivotal moment in Liverpool's season. Now, on paper, Liverpool certainly are what you'd say on the tougher side of the draw when it comes to looking at the Champions League, but I think it's important that we don't look too far ahead, and I know this sounds very cliche, but we just need to take this one game at a time and just deal with what's in front of us, and that right now is Galatasaray away. Not even be thinking about the Galatasaray home leg, purely Galatasaray away, and that is it. And let's just fucking do the job. Let's put these fuckers to bed. Let's get in there. Let's do a professional performance, a solid performance. Let's get in and out, and let's get ourselves booked on a plane for the quarterfinals against whoever that may be, whether it is Chelsea or PSV. I think I've got that right. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. Now, we all know what to expect when we go to Galatasaray. The crowd are going to be up for the game. They're going to make it hostile. They're going to make it horrible for, well, basically the players, the fans, everything. We all hear, we all know from previous years gone by what's happened over there and how they've got this reputation and yada yada yada. So for me here, this is where you're looking for your leaders to step up. You're looking for your likes of Virgil van Dijk, and I expect Virgil to be talking every single player through this game. Maybe not so much your senior players, but especially the likes of Kanate, Gravenberch, maybe Kirkes, whoever played. Virgil is important. All the leaders on the pitch, potentially Mo Salah, McAllister, all important in this game. And speaking of leaders, there's one player in particular which I think could play an important role in this game, and I will circle back to that when I come to doing my starting 11 prediction. But before we do that, let's have a quick look at how Liverpool are faring up in the injury room. So, as far as I'm aware, recording this video today, Liverpool have got no fresh injury concerns other than those long-term absentees that we all know about. Florian Wirtz, we know, is back after he had a little cameo at Molineux the other night. So, for me, Arne Slot has got he's got a semi-decent squad to pick from at the moment. He's actually got options in different positions. He's got options at fullbacks. He's got options in midfield. He's lacking, obviously, options up top, but he's got options. So for me, Arne Slot, no excuses going into this game. Now, speaking of Arne Slot, let's get into what I think he will do in terms of a starting 11. So as I say, Arne Slot's got a pretty semi-decent squad to pick from for this game, so I expect him to go strong. Alisson Becker will play in goal. I am predicting that Jeremy Frimpong will play at right back, which I think is important because I've no doubts that Mo Salah will play, and for Jeremy Frimpong to offer another dynamic going forward, I think Salah is hindered the fact that he doesn't really have a full-back overlapping his side, so he's constantly playing 2-on-1. I'm not making an excuse for Mo Salah. He's had a poor season by his standards. However, I think if Jeremy Frimpong plays, and I expect him to play, he offers something a little different and will potentially help Mo Salah on that right-hand side. In terms of the two centre-halves, we're going to go for Konate and Van Dijk. I think that's a given. So, left-back. Now, this is the interesting one for me, and remember earlier on in the video I spoke about leaders and one person in particular that could be important. Now, personally, given that Andy Robertson played the FA Cup tie last time out against Wolves, I think he will miss out. I think Kirkers will come back in. But if it was me, if I was Arne Slot, I would play Andy Robertson in this tie. I think given the circumstances, the occasion, the crowd, I think Andy Robertson is a perfect selection for this game. I really do. He's vice captain. He's part of the senior leadership team. He's been there, seen it, done it, got the fucking t-shirt and everything. Andy Robertson for me should start this game, but I don't think he will. I think Milos Kerkez will come back in. Midfield, I'm going to go Ryan Gravenberch, Alexis McAllister and Dominic Szoboszlai. I think they will play in midfield. I don't see Florian Wirtz coming back in starting. I think Florian Wirtz will take up another spot on the bench. And then up top, Cody Gakpo will start on the left, and I expect a lot of backlash from the fans if this happens, because obviously Rio Ingamoa started against Wolves last time out and he was brilliant. He had a fantastic game, but I don't expect Rio to start this game. It'll be hostile, it'll be physical, and personally I think the manager would make the correct decision starting Cody Gakpo and maybe, having that option off the bench of a young, fresh, a hungry Rio Ingamoa. As I said earlier, I think Mo Salah will play on the right hand side, and it'll help potentially having Jeremy Frimpong behind him, and then Hugo Ekitike will come back into the side and play up top. Let me know what you think, guys, in the comments below, what you think Arne Slot will do for a starting 11, and even let me know who you would like to start this game if it's any different from mine. Score prediction, I think it will be a tough game. I don't see it being an exciting game. I think it'll be a game very similar to in the league, albeit I think Galatasaray will have to try and maybe come out and do something, because I don't see them wanting to come to Anfield chasing a result. Who knows? I mean, I could be wrong. I'm not the Galatasaray manager. However, I think it will be a very, very tricky, a very, very subdued, but a Liverpool win. And I'm going for a 1-0 Hugo Ekitike on the score sheet. Thanks for watching the video, guys. Let me know in the comments what you think for your score predictions. And if you haven't already, make sure you like and subscribe. I'll catch you in a bit.